Thank you very much for joining us today. Good morning, or rather good afternoon to everyone in this session. My name is Christine. I'm from APAC Med for Startups program. In today's session, we visit the possible gaps in healthcare, how innovations may address these needs, what kind of funding programs may be available to you as an innovator through effective partnerships with government, research institutes, and corporations in the face of a very challenging world, complicated by an ongoing pandemic. Today, our panelists will share successful innovation cases launched in partnership with National Health Innovation Center. I would like to welcome our guests today, Ms. Ling Sing Yi, Associate Professor, Chemistry and Biological Chemistry Division at Nanyang Technological University, Ms. Patera Kongsupol, Director, TracieX Private Limited, and Mr. Roger Chua, Manager, Innovation at the National Health Innovation Center, Singapore. Do feel free to post your questions through the session itself in the chat box that you see here, and I'll try my best to facilitate them. Though we will open up for a Q&A session after the sharing. So over to you, Ms. Ling, Kun Patera, and Mr. Chua. Good morning to all of you, or rather good afternoon again. Would you like to take us through what you have in store for startup members today that's tuning in?
Sure, thank you, Christine.
Mr. Chua, yeah.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Let me share my screen first. Okay, all right. Thank you, Christine. A very good afternoon to all, and thank you for taking your precious time off to attend our webinar. I am Roger from National Health Innovation Center, Singapore, in short, NHIC. We are currently living in a world where populations are aging, with increasing cases of chronic disease over the years, such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and stroke. We are living in a world where our healthcare system and economy are occasionally threatened by the emergence of new infectious disease, such as the current COVID-19 pandemic, which infected more than 200 million and claims more than 4 million lives. Question we have to ask ourselves, can we live longer with a good quality of life? And how can we do better to keep infectious disease at bay and minimize the damage done to us? Innovation, which is the key to improving our healthcare systems, need to keep pace and create a positive impact on a healthcare system while improving quality of life of our patients. The journey of healthcare innovation is not easy, where a successful collaboration of many parties whose expertise reside in many different domains is critical. Today, I'm going to introduce how NHIC can be part of your innovation journey. NHIC is established as a public innovation and enterprise office in 2014 to support our public healthcare institutions. Recently, in April 2020, we have joined our 4 business system unit under the umbrella of Consortium for Clinical Research and Innovation Singapore, in short CRIS, as a family with the aim of building synergies in research efforts to promote strategies of clinical research and translational for Singapore. We are an IEO with the mission to accelerate healthcare innovation towards the commercial outcomes and clinical adoption, so as to drive impactful health and economic outcomes for Singapore. These are driven mainly with our translational funding, strategic guidance, and partnership with key stakeholders within the healthcare system. We provide funding to protect the intellectual property of our technology, support its development, and move research towards a commercial attractive endpoint. We provide strategic guidance, mentoring to the team on commercialization strategies, educate through our partners programs, and raise awareness on IP commercialization. Third, last but not least, we facilitate partnership between healthcare institutions and industry, and work with policymakers to support translational into health and social economic outcomes. So first, let me take you through our strategic funding pathway for your healthcare innovation. Working together with our partners over the past few years, we have actually structured out funding pathway in a way that it will veer towards either a licensing pathway, as indicated by the blue arrow, or start-up as indicated by the red arrow, which will then further bring the innovation into clinical adoption. There will be funds to support the ideation phase of a healthcare innovation to its clinical adoption, as you can see from the pathway. Over here, today, I'll particularly emphasize 3 of our grants in this section, namely the innovation to develop grant, to drive healthcare innovation towards an attractive endpoint, innovation to industry funding, in short, I2I, to support healthcare institutions to co-develop the technology with industry partners, and innovation to start, which bring together resources to support start-up within institutions. So the innovation to develop, in short, I2D, funds the development for healthcare innovation towards a commercial attractive endpoint, such as a licensing or startup. For the eligibility criteria, the leading PI must hold a public salary appointments in the local public hospital, public health institution, or medical school. The application should come along with strong preliminary data and development plan with significant healthcare impact and commercial potential. So the grant is actually held every 4 years, with deadline falling on the first Friday of every April, August, and December. Submission of application is through the designated office in every healthcare cluster. Our next submission deadline will be 3rd December 2021, and do re-engage us for discussion of your application if there's any exciting innovation coming up. So if a healthcare provider or an industrial partner, they would like to co-develop technology together with the potential of IP license to the industrial partner. So probably this will be the grant that you might be looking into. For us, we actually encourage a lot of collaboration between industrial partners and our healthcare cluster. The reason being that this technology, once developed, will be likely to be handed over to a commercial site for them to drive the scalability of the technology and later clinical adoption. So in this case, do come to find us for more discussion to see how we can actually connect industrial partners to the right clinician, or probably the clinician to the right industrial partner. So the eligibility criteria for this grant is actually quite similar to I2D, which require the leading PI from the healthcare institution. Additional criteria will include the need for co-development with an industrial partner. So the industrial partner will actually come into these grants, which after that, they will actually license the technology over after the project has been completed. So there will be additional funding criteria which require a binding agreement with an industrial partner as a licensee. The grant is actually open throughout the year with similar funding content and funding duration as an innovation to develop fund. If you have any exciting co-developing innovation, you are encouraged to pre-engage us early to discuss about the intent, the innovation, and then for you can actually assess to see whether it is suitable and how it can actually help you to kind of further strengthen the proposal. So if suitable, an invitation will be sent to the team for application for our I2I grants. Once awarded, there will be a need to sign an option license agreement with the industrial partner before the fund is actually released to carry out this project. So a startup journey is never easy, which I believe that a lot of startups in the audience may actually know, and usually require a few rounds of funding to support the development of innovation to the development of the company. We understand that time is crucial to every innovation and its values may deplete over time. So NHIC together with Smart and Enterprise Singapore create a seamless funding pathway. How to start? By bringing together funding resources to support project towards a startup outcome. This will actually reduce a lot of paperwork, waiting time, and the need for subsequent grant application and approval. So for the eligibility criteria, right, what we are looking into is a technology level of probably around 3 and above. And of course, technology can actually range from clinical diagnostics, medtech to biopharma projects. So, and of course, the intent is actually to start up a company. So the team that is going to comprise of this project will actually consist of clinical PI and a technical PI from the institution, from the public institution. So for a clinical PI, it must hold a primary appointment in a public healthcare institution. And for the technical PI, it can come from any of the institution. So this is an open ground call throughout the whole year. And what you need to do is actually to send a letter of intent. But before sending a letter of intent, you also are encouraged to engage us for further discussion. So over the years, we have supported the development of various healthcare innovation in both medtech and biopharma sectors, which include diagnostic device, implants, health antibody treatments, and drug delivery. We are not limited by the list of technology in this slide, and will welcome any innovation that will bring significant healthcare impact and commercial outcome. So these are actually some of the performance indicators in our establishment, which we have facilitated 46 licenses, 15 startup companies, and generate $2.4 million of licensing revenues, to name some of our achievements. These are some of our examples of our licensed technology which we have funded and achieved its outcome. These include our support given to the prototyping of a self-retaining surgical site lighting solution, a pilot clinical trial to determine the best formulation of 5-HTP colon adsorption for the treatment of depressed patients, and the prototype refinement towards design freeze phase and preclinical trial of a unique one-step non-surgical implant to control the circulating level of gut hormone and to stabilize the hormones balance in type 2 diabetes patients. All this has actually been de-risked at the level of NHIC, and after that, which the commercial partners, the industrial partner actually, which probably they co-develop with the team that take out the license and continue to drive this forward. There are also examples of our startup as an outcome which we previously support them in their development. For instance, the optimization of Selena to serve as an automated real-time detection tool for diabetic eye disease, the development of prototype for a pilot clinical trials to help build stronger muscles without the need to exercise, and to optimize a lab candidates for antibody therapeutics in the treatment of fibrotic human disease. So just now I was talking all about funding. How about besides funding, what do we support? Besides funding, we also offer additional support to strategy guide the teams along their innovation pathway. Because for the innovation pathway, there's a lot of consideration to take care of. So first, we pre-engage. So before even the PI actually apply for the grants, we actually encourage them to pre-engage us, which will help to assess the team commercial potential and provide recommendation to the right funding source based on the funding amount required and the current development stage of products. So this will actually help to save a lot of time and to let the PI actually understand what they should do before they apply the grants. So when the project is funded, what do? We provide active project management to the team. Every project comes with various challenges, and actually there's actually no fixed one innovation pathway that can actually let all the projects to be successful. So that's why over the years, we have a lot of resources that has been built up and initiative to help the team to move forward during the development and commercial phase. So to name a few from the slide, this include provide training for the team with our partners in the area of product development, regulatory and business development. We have anchored consultants who could provide their consultancy service in the area of product development and regulatory as well. So the relationship between us and the project team doesn't end with the project. Innovation journey towards a commercial outcome is a long process that needs years to achieve. So we continue to support them and do our best to ensure that they will be successful and help to actually connect them to the right partners, or even help them to provide them space to actually market their technology. So the third point the third value proposition that we have is, over the years, NHIC has established multiple channels to engage industrial partners in the health tech fields, which serves to create awareness of co-innovation opportunity through partners, exhibition, and sharing at events. Facilitating collaboration by having pre-engagement session with industrial partners and connecting clinical innovators to the industry partners. And lastly, to also work with industrial association to update with the latest industrial interest and direction. So over here, if you are a healthcare innovator who has some exciting innovation to share with us, or an industrial partner, startup, SME, or MNC who is interested to connect with us to see how we can actually bring value to the healthcare ecosystem, feel free to contact any one of us listed in this list. Do follow us on LinkedIn too for further updates. I'll pause here for 5 seconds for you to take a screenshot of our contact so that you can actually, over the task, if you want to connect to us, you can actually connect to us. Okay. So before I proceed to the next session, please register your interest with this QR code at the end of this webinar if you would like to connect with us. A link will be later provided in the chat room below. I'll also pause here for another 5 seconds. If you want to take a screenshot, you can actually take. If not, don't worry. At the end of the webinar, this will be actually flashed out again. So during the pandemic, NHIC has stepped up to support numerous COVID-19 related health tech solutions for Singapore, which include numerous technologies such as vaccine platforms, diagnostic kit for detecting COVID-19 or immunity, and home-based mobile apps to reduce clinical crowdings. Besides funding, we have also provided strategic support such as regulatory guidance, product development, and stakeholder engagement to accelerate and advance Singapore's fight against COVID-19. We are very honored to have Professor Ling Xin Yi and Dr. Patera in this webinar to share with us their innovation journey and how they race against time to repurpose their platform technology into COVID-19 solution. Let me welcome the first speaker, Professor Ling Xin Yi from Nanyang Technological University. Professor Ling has been focusing on using nanotechnology for fundamental studies and application in catalyst, sensing, and diagnosis. And during the pandemic, her team has stepped up to the core and developed a breathalyser that can detect COVID-19, which has recently received HSA provision approval few months back. A blow into the breathalyser, and you will be able to get results within minutes. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Roger, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. So today, my name is Ling Xin Yi. So today, I would like to share with you our journey from a research lab into and how we can transform our sensor and our technology into a product with real-life deployment using our cells-based breathalyzer TracieX for COVID-19 detection as an example. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. The technology that we are using is called surface enhanced Raman scattering. So it is a technology that we have been developing in our lab in NTU for the past 10 years. So previously we were using it for biomarker detection, or we are using for toxic gas detection. But really during the COVID period, we quickly pivot our sensor technology into a breathalyzer test kit for COVID-19 detection. So the idea is to use this sensor breathalyzer and by detecting the breath-based volatile organic compound exhaled by individuals to quickly give a yes and no answer. So maybe you can just, okay, over here. So, so the breathalyzer will be used as a mass screening tool. So basically by identifying the distinct breath volatile organic compound BVOC among the COVID positive patient. So we will then use statistical analysis to help us to quickly identify this C+ COVID positive patient from the general population. So from breathing 10 seconds into the breathalyzer on the left picture over here to the end time when you get your results, everything can be done in 2 minutes time. Okay, so next slide. So currently we are conducting our deployment trial pilot in Changi Airport Terminal 3. over here at their car park. So basically, we are doing daily testing on about several hundreds of Changi Airport staff who undergo their routine roster testing. So there are 4 stations in this breathalyzer testing. So first, the staff will register, they will have their ID registered, and then they will have their breath collected under supervision. And then, of course, because COVID being an infectious disease, we will then disinfect the breathalyzer. It is a one-time use breathalyzer. So after this disinfection, the staff will then measure, the testing staff will then perform the measurement, and the measurement can be done in less than 2 minutes. So after the person get to know whether he is positive or negative, then the entire breathalyzer will be disposed. So it is a very rapid and disposable breath test. This can be done in less than, I would say, including the registration time, in less than 4 minutes time. Okay, so next slide, please. So this is a quick video. So after the breath test and then disinfection over here, and go to the station, slot into our reader, and have the reading done in less than 1 minute's time. So you can see the staff just rewind. Yeah. So negative test, and then the staff can leave. Okay, so because it's just a very quick introduction, so of course it was not easy to transform our lab-based research into a real-life product in a very short time frame, because we really started talking about the idea, brainstorming about this breathalyzer idea after the circuit breaker. It was back in July or so, and then we start engaging NHIC, MOH, and NMRC to seek their guidance in terms of the funding and the support and regulatory support. So then I think this project will not be possible with all the support and the guidance and the grant from all the parties. In particular, Roger here played a big part in making sure that we got enough funding and guidance to really have the respective stakeholder to take part in this project. And then, of course, our R&D partners, NTU and also LKC and NMRC. And so previously we conduct our trial, a small trial in NCID, and then we expand to the Changi Airport. And then further from there, we also conduct more trial. And also currently right now we are conducting more trials at Bright Vision Hospital, which is a CCF. And we also conduct overseas trial in Malaysia, 2 hospitals, the Sungai Buloh Hospital and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So I think having all these partners to take part in the project will be very important, and to identify them and to work to build the relationship with them and to make sure the project can be run smoothly is also important. And of course, finally, it is also important to identify the commercial partners. So in this particular case, we were really fortunate to form the startup company. It's called Silver Factory. And then we were introduced to work with a respective commercial partner, and then receive angel fund from, for example, Green Below, and then work with our manufacturing partner, Dowie, Certis Cisco, and also PwC to make sure that we have we can quickly work on the later development part of the product. So with that, I want to thank everyone. Yeah, that's all for my talk.
Thank you, Prof. Ting. I think along these past 1 year, right, I have been learning with you, right? I can see that it's actually inspiring to see how you and your team actually has been working so hard to progress this far to this stage. Very thank you and your team for the contribution to this COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So next, let's welcome Dr. Patera, who is actually previously from SMART as a research scientist institution working on paper-based diagnostic platforms, after which she transits to a spin-off company, TracieX Private Limited. Yes, you heard it. It's a paper-based which not only can it potentially reduce production costs, it can also assess your immunoprotective profile within minutes just after a small fingerprint.
Right.
So over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Roger. So good afternoon, everyone. Just a brief introduction of myself and our technology. So my name is Patera. I'm currently a director at TracieX Private Limited in Singapore. So our journey starts from SMART. So I was research scientist in SMART under Professor Hadley Sykes' lab. So in our lab, we have a platform technology for protein engineering to develop binders that is compatible to cellulose-based paper. And we have the capability to make point of care tests on the paper-based device. So with that technology that we have in-house and together with the COVID-19 pandemic, we combine our technology and the needs for detection of particularly the neutralizing antibodies to monitoring the vaccine status and the herd immunity. Then we go to NHIC and we propose our ideas, and with the funding support from NHIC, the technology has matured and developed into a rapid diagnostic test that could detect the neutralizing antibodies, SARS-CoV-2 neutralizing antibodies within 10 minutes from a finger prick blood. I did not prepare a detailed slide on how the technology works, but if anyone is interested, please do feel free to contact me. I think perhaps Roger can pass my contact if anyone is asking for my contact. And definitely through NHIC support, we are able to spin off to the company so-called TracieX. So we are now focusing our first product development on the rapid neutralizing antibody test from finger prick. But of course, the technology is a platform technology that we envision that this platform technology can be applied to many more rapid diagnostic tests. And COVID-19 will be our first product. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patera, for sharing your journey along the way through SMART until you spin off the company. So I can see that actually a quick POC diagnostic kit is actually indeed very useful to assess whether an individual is actually well protected from the virus. So I appreciate your team for actually contributing so much for this pandemic in such a short period of time. Yeah, so Christine, back to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Very insightful presentation. And Prof. Ling, great to know that your product is one of the products that's helping out to reopen borders, in fact, for our country. So kudos to that, great job. I want to pause for now and maybe ask the floor if there is any questions from anyone there that you would like to pose to Dr. Chua from NHIC or Prof. Ling or Kun Patera here, Dr. Patera here, you know, that you want to tap on their experience and their journey through, you know, launching their product, from innovation to launching their product, the process itself. Would there be any questions from the floor that you'd like to ask? So we do have one here. Are these innovations considered social enterprise or for profit? So who would this question be applicable for? Probably for, you know, actually from both NHIC and any of the innovators here.
So
Roger, maybe?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Probably I can take these questions. So I think for these innovations, usually when we drive out and want to see the commercial outcomes. So the reason is because to sustain a business along the way, right? I mean, commercial is actually one of the way, because definitely you need to have some profits to actually scale out the products, and then which can be actually distributed to worldwide for even greater impacts to actually benefit the whole mankind. Yeah. So probably I hope this will answer the questions.
Okay. To the audience, okay, may we know from Mr. Melvin Lim, maybe know what's the production process for both products and how are the supply chains managed? I guess this is probably a question for both the doctors, Dr. Ling and Prof. Ling and Dr. Patera.
Maybe I start first. Okay,
Yeah.
so for the production process, right, initially when we were doing the clinical trial, it's a very much a manual and lab-based process. Everything is done by the team of researchers in our lab. But as we are really scaling up and conducting our deployment pilot here, there in Changi Airport, there is really a need to really standardize the process and really automate the process. So I think this is, I wouldn't say like we are the expert and we have everything under control right now, but this is something that the team is working hard, because now all the know-how has been passed to the startup company managed by the professionals. So they are trying very hard to really standardize, to make it a very consistent product. And I would say that, yeah, so the supply chain is managed by our COO. So all these, I think, must be done stepwise, because as we scale up, we also notice that scale up process is very different from what we can do in the lab. It's like what my student told me the other day. It was like, it is so easy to make things in the lab, because yeah, you don't really need to make a lot. But if to supply for just a few is easy, but to supply for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, the consistency of the process and the stability of the process is very important. So I think it's very important that at every step of the way, as we scale up, we need to carefully verify the process and the product at every step of the way. I think this is the biggest thing that we learned, because I myself, I am a scientist, so I you know, all these scale up and all this manufacturing, we don't know. Something that we don't know, but I think it's the entire team is also learning as we try to scale up our product.
Yeah, so actually, if I could chime in, I share the pain with Prof. Ling a lot, since I was a research scientist in the lab, and I definitely jumped to the company. And I'm actually the lead scientist who actually do all the supply chain and scale up and manufacturing of the test. And my camera just turned off. Please bear with me on that. So basically, yeah, the first thing we actually do from research to production is, first thing, you have to know what your, you have to freeze the design of your assay. And from that point onward, it will make it much easier to really break it down into different, I call it boxes, on what would you need for your, in our case, test cassette. For the reader, what would you need? And from that point onward, then you can really pinpoint down what are the supply chain required. And we definitely contacted several suppliers and really compare the price, you know, things we never done as a scientist, but through time we learned a lot. But yeah, that's the beginning steps of how to start managing supply chain and mass manufacture the tests.
Great. Thank you. And we have a question from Jamie to Prof. Ling. Do you have distribution set up in Australia?
Okay, I think, well, we try not to get carried away by distribution overseas, because like I mentioned just now, I think we really need to stabilize the manufacturing process. So I think what we are doing right now is more focusing on Singapore market, really to show through this deployment trial in Changi Airport that we can really scale up to, say, hundreds of thousands, if not million scale. And then we will slowly work with our overseas partner to really distribute overseas. Yeah.
Thank you. Right. And Lina's question for both Prof. Ling and Kun Kongspol as well. Thank you for the presentation, and would like to understand, are the innovations considered for local markets only, or commercialization regionally as well? That's question one. And the second one, are the products scalable for post-COVID into other applications as well? So ladies, would you like to?
Maybe Patera can start first.
Sure, yes. So the first question, are these products for local market? Yes, definitely. Singapore is our first target market. And definitely we would love to expand tests to international markets, but that a long process to go. Yeah, and to the second question, are the products stable scalable for post-COVID to other applications? Yes, since now that we have spin off the company, so apart from wanting to contribute to the society, the company also has to sustain, right? So COVID will not, I hope it's not going to stay forever. So we also looking into develop or apply our technology into our applications. And it has a big potential to be applied to other applications. Yes.
Yeah, I think similarly, I think both the product that introduced here today, platform technology, yes, we are definitely not only eyeing for just one product, but really to apply it for other applications. Particularly in our case, it is not only used for medical device, it can also be used for other application in other industry beyond diagnosis. So for example, we have another project in our group that aim to use the same platform technology for example, for toxic gas detection and etc. So we definitely intend to expand the use case for these platform, especially so for other users. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we have a question from ZW to NHIC. Dr.
I think Christine Fries.
Yeah.
Can provide to facilitate the.
Okay, sure. I think I do see the question in the chat. So I mean, for NHIC, right, our main stream of funding is.
My apologies.
It's all right. Probably I can take over from here. So for NHIC, our main stream of funding is actually provided to develop. I mean, it's a gap funding actually to develop technologies towards the commercial endpoints. But however, we understand that clinical adoption is actually very important because there's no point to commercialize, but nobody is actually taking up. So we are actually working with quite a number of partners to actually see how we can actually facilitate this. And this still in the, I mean, it's still not very finalized yet. But I believe we are actually working towards some kind of fundings together with some of our other partners to actually establish it so that we can actually facilitate this kind of adoption. So I think the second question is, how about those products that has been commercially launched in Singapore? So I mean, for us, we launched in Singapore, but if let's say they want to further develop it to strengthen the kind of technologies, right? So probably this is something that we can actually look into, but however, the industrial partner has to actually come to a healthcare institution to co-develop this with them. But for technology that has been actually kind of really launched, very ready, and want to move on further, this will actually go to other of our public agencies to actually drive this forward. So if you have any kind of innovation, you can actually contact us, and we have a kind of a discussion to see where does your technology stand, and then we can actually refer you to our public agency, other public agency, or if it is suitable to us, we probably can actually ask you to submit an application to us. Hope that answer your questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. So if you have any of such questions, just always get connected with NHIC first. If there's something that's in the making but not ready, you can always keep tabs with them and get connected first with your solution. Otherwise, post your questions across to NHIC, and I think Dr. Roger Chua's team is more than willing to help you to get connected with the other departments that he is aware of. So do we have other questions in the audience that burning questions that you'd like to ask, anything through the process of innovation through to launch, or maybe for NHIC? So meanwhile, while we're waiting for questions to be posted, I do have a couple of them for the panel here. So maybe to Dr. Chua first. There are many hurdles and considerations for developing innovative health tech solutions. How does NHIC support these projects?
Yeah, so I think in the previous, just now when I was presenting, right, I've mentioned that all the projects will have different challenges, and it really depends on the status of their technologies and the team composition that they have. So usually what we do is we encourage the team to pre-engage us before they apply. We look at their technology, and then we actually see what's the commercial potential, and if there's actually any gaps that are actually missing that they have actually missed out during their entire journey planning. So we actually kind of fill out the gaps and advise them before they actually submit their proposal in. After then they submit the proposal, if they actually get the funding right, then we have project management to manage the project, very actively managing the projects. And along the way, we may spot some kind of gaps that might be needed. For example, like, the team has actually engaged a manufacturer, but however, that doesn't work out. So we are actually pulling in our partners to actually see whether the rest of the partners can actually be the ideal manufacturer for them. If not, probably like they met some regulatory concerns along the way. And that's why we actually have our anchored consultants to come in to actually kind of advise them what to do and how to actually proceed forward. So I would say that all kinds of projects will have different challenges at different times. So there's no one pathway that can actually lead to a success outcome. So I think active project management is what we have been doing, and active partnership with a lot of ecosystem, such that when problems surface, we know where to pull in resources to help them. Yeah.
That's very, very good to know, and the assurance that you gave to the panel, to the audience tuning in. We have a question here now from Wong Yong Chuan. I see a time frame planned for innovation journey, but seeing the urgency of COVID-19, how does industry partnership can be expedited through these challenges?
Yeah, so for this, for example, for Patera and Sydney, right? So what happened is, when we came to know that they have such technology, so what happened is we actually came in to pull in a lot of partnerships from other industry, engage stakeholders to them to have further discussion and see how everybody can actually work together to help each other. So probably Patera and Sydney, do you want to have some input on this?
Yes, maybe I chime in a little bit. So definitely NHIC is a very great contact point for us. We have the technology, but as a scientist, we don't know who will be our target customer. And Roger definitely helped us a lot in trying to link us up with different parties that, he has a network with, or they contact NHIC, and start from there. Then we start building up our own network to this urgent of COVID-19. So yeah, NHIC definitely a good contact point in this regard. Yes.
Great. All right. We have a question from Melvin as well for Dr. Chua again. What is NHIC's view on the local or regional medical device innovation space? Example, landscape, ecosystem, quality of innovation for minimally invasive surgery, example, robotic surgery and orthopedic implants.
Yeah, so for example, for orthopedic implants, right, I think this is actually a very crowded space. But however, that really depends on when you do this innovation, right? What is the competitive edges that you are trying to bring over to actually have a better benefits from the rest of the orthopedic implants. But I can say that for orthopedic implants, this is actually quite crowded in the space. Then for robotic surgeries, right, there are some key players out there, and I think they are still working towards getting adopted into the clinical settings. So more and more projects are actually ongoing to actually build out these robotic surgeries to actually to have a better precision in treating the patient. So the landscape, I think, for robotic surgery is still quite open, and still there's quite a lot of things that can be actually explored.
Thank you. Okay, maybe a question for the two guest speakers as well, the ladies. What has been the hardest part of your commercialization journey in bringing your innovation to market? And how did you overcome these challenges? To Prof. Ling and to Kun Patera?
So maybe I'll start first. Well, I think the biggest challenges, first of all, is like I mentioned, we began as a lab scale research project. In fact, we got the COVID grant from NMRC to really test whether this project will work or not, this breathalyser project will work or not. In fact, initially I asked for a big chunk of money to do like from phase 1 to phase 2 trial, but then NMRC actually wanted us to do a smaller scale and to prove that it works. So, and luckily, like we passed the first hurdle, but really right now is then we are entering the next step is to really scale up. And unfortunately, what we are doing, this technology, surface enhanced Raman scattering, SIRS technology, is very, very new. It's an emerging nanotechnology that has never been done at this scale before, because most of the SIRS technology are done in still research lab. So there are many things we don't know, and there are many moving parts. So I think, so then the recruitment of the team members, the key, what we call the pillar members are very important, because they will be the one to help us to identify the things that we don't know, and to solve this and to really stabilize individual moving parts. And because of this, right now we feel like such kind of emerging technology, really it is more important for us to prove, to undergo more stress tests and to further develop this to the next level. I think this will be our biggest challenge right now as we speak. So I think we need to conduct more trial, more tests to really validate our mass production, either from the sensor point of view or even the hardware point of view, because we have to do both currently. We produce our own sensor chip, but we also assemble our own hardware system. So I think these two moving parts, we really need to stabilize this. But the fortunate part is that we have a very passionate and committed team. So they are really like passionate about what we are doing and believe in us on these COVID breathalyzer product. And of course, not to mention that we receive a lot of helps and advices from all the government agency and the statutory boards. And yeah, so I think, yeah, and because there are a lot of things that we don't know. So I think Roger and Patera emphasized just now, it is very important to have an open mind as to talk to as many people as possible, because at every now and then we have some bottlenecks that we don't know who to talk to. And in this case, Roger will be the perfect point of contact, because he can then direct us to talk to the right people. Yeah, to talk to the right industry partner, manufacturer, or even the government agency. So I think, yeah, so a lot of challenges, but we are very glad as a team to have received a lot of advices from all parties. So yeah, this is what I want to share.
Yeah, so I would say I experienced similar thing like Prof. Lin has experienced. Every step of the way is a challenge. I feel like I'm doing PhD all over again. So everything, freeze down the test design, the test workflow. Once freeze down, you have to evaluate how to make your reagents stable, because you cannot always keep them in -80 and so on. In our case, once you do that, then you have to contact manufacturer. working with HSA, because it's a medical device, you cannot just go out and sell. So you have to find out all the regulatory rules that is put in place, and you have to follow all that. Acquiring all the manufacturer standard, ISO 10485 for medical device and everything. So up until now, we at this stage where we about to submit our test for approval. So every step of the way is a challenge for TracieX for us.
Thank you very much. But I think really very inspiring stories from both of you. I think no startup journey is easy, and definitely a lot of challenges on the way. So I think it's really important to retain that open mindset. Maybe I have time for one more question, if I may just pose it to Prof. Ling. Understanding that you work closely with an industry partner for the development of TracieX breathalyser. Can you share with us what are some of the important considerations when you're working together with, to select the right industry partner?
Actually, we work with many different industry partners because we need injection molding company to help us to make our plastic casing. We will work also with a hardware company, to assemble our hardware and many others. I think what we learn is that communication with our industry partner is very important because, like I say, this is such an emerging technology. Nobody has done this before at this scale. So in the beginning, we don't have much specification on our product, but as we are learning more and more, even on the, I think, like probably on a daily basis about what needs to be tightened, the control and the quality and needs to be tightened. We need to go back to our partners and tell them, hey, look, we need to change this. Can you do that? And can you do this? So I think communication, interactive communication with the partner will be important because so that they can understand what our needs. And so as a way to further improve our product. So I think in selecting the right partners, once again, I don't know anyone in Singapore. I mean, before this product, I don't know anyone in Singapore who make plastic casing. But again, it's through the connection with all the agencies so that I get to introduce to all these partners. So I think communication with all parties is very important, is how I feel.
Great to know that. Now, I think NHIC is playing a very, very pivotal role here for all the companies to give them a lift up when they start out.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from the floor, actually? And if not otherwise, maybe it's good for Dr. Chua to put up your contact that our audience tuning in today can reach you again. And I urge you all to please take note of this. You never know when, you can reach out and ask for some form of advice or assistance from NHIC. So I would like to close with APAC Med's startup program continues to strive to nurture medtech startups to drive innovation and to develop life-changing technologies in the entire medtech ecosystem. So look out for more exciting webinars coming up for the rest of this year as we will organize them according to your areas of interest. I would really like to thank our panel of speakers today, Dr. Ling, Dr. Patera, and Dr. Chua, and all of you tuning in for your time and participation. Okay, so please take care and see you soon for our next webinar. Have a great weekend ahead and thank you so much. Bye. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.